Hey, I'm Nick and welcome to my kitchen. Today is Technique Tuesday. We're going to talk about knives and vegetable prep techniques. Let's get started. These three knives in front of me are the most important in your knife block: the chef's knife, the serrated knife, and the paring knife. A paring knife is an approximately 3 to 4 inch blade that's great for cutting soft vegetables, peeling, and also coring. If you want to quickly improve your knife skills, prep using a paring knife. Next, let's talk about the serrated knife. A serrated knife is not only great for slicing bread, but also for cutting any fruits or vegetables with a rind, such as a lemon or a watermelon. This is a tiny 6-inch blade. Shoot for a 10-inch blade. Next, let's talk about the most important knife in your block, and that's the chef's knife. We're going to cover how to hold it and how to use it to make several different types of cuts. But first, let's talk about other items in your knife block. This is a santoku knife. It is a Japanese knife similar to a chef's knife. It's used to cut in an up and down motion rather than a back and forth motion. Next, we have the meat cleaver. This is used to cut through thick chunks of meat and splitting up large pieces of soft bones such as ribs. These are kitchen shears. They're used for snipping herbs, cutting open packages, and even breaking down poultry. Last but not least, we have the honing steel. This is used to realign the blade's edge. This does not sharpen your knife. All it does is make sure that the blade does not round out, giving you the best edge possible. You should hone your knife every time you use it. Now let's talk about how to properly hold a chef's knife. If you hold it too close to the base, you have no control. And if you hold it too high on the blade, you risk cutting your fingers. Here's the best way to hold a chef's knife. Wrapping 3 fingers around the handle and using your thumb and index finger to pinch the blade is going to give you the absolute most control over the knife. Oftentimes we don't want to hold the blade, but it's what gives us the most control over the knife. So once again, wrap 3 fingers around the handle and use your thumb and index finger to pinch the blade, but make sure you don't hold it too tightly. You want a nice loose grip. Now that we have our cutting hand figured out, let's talk about our other hand. Often this is what slows people down the most in their prep work. By trying to hold it, you risk cutting your hand. We want to avoid that at all costs, so the easiest way to do this is to place 2 fingers on what you're trying to cut and use your thumb and pinky finger to brace and move up and down the cutting board. Now that we have that sorted, let me demonstrate all of this. Something you might hear is top and tail. It just means to remove the top and bottom of something. The technique you see me using here is a simple dice technique. By rocking the knife back and forth and using your fingers to guide the vegetable, this is going to give you precise cuts all day long. The next thing I want to show you is how to dice something round. Using this onion to demonstrate, we're going to make vertical cuts approximately 1 centimeter from the root, followed by 2 cuts that are in a downward motion away from your fingers. And finally, we're going to use that dicing technique to finish our cut. At all times, we want to use the 2-finger method to make sure that we're protecting our fingers from being cut. Depending on how big you want your vegetables to be prepped, you can do this either closer or further apart. It all depends on your preference. And if you're going to go really small, you have what's called a mince. Most commonly used for onions, garlics, and shallots, this is a very, very small, fine dice. To prep this, you're going to use the exact same method that you would for the onion. Now let's cover a couple different techniques. The next technique you're going to see is the baton. This method is most commonly used in fine dining, but I like to use it to prep my carrots for hummus. Simply cut to a working length and then use your knife to cut into a square. This method makes for beautiful presentation. Next, I'm going to show you how to julienne this pepper, but first, let me show you the best technique for cutting it. Remove the stem and flip on its top, and then find the rib lines inside the pepper. Once exposed, it's easy to cut along without cutting any of that white stuff or getting any seeds on your pepper. Now let's focus on julienning the pepper. A julienne cut is a very thinly sliced cut. We're going to use our knife to make very short, thin slices of any vegetable that we're prepping. Your knife needs to be extremely sharp for this cut, otherwise you will not get close enough cuts. Another cut that's essential to know with the julienne cut is the brunoise. All it is julienning something and then dicing it into small pieces. This technique is often used to refine your cooking. Now I want to cover 2 techniques that make food look beautiful. The first technique is called an oblique cut. You're going to hold your knife and your food at a 45-degree angle and then roll your food towards yourself 90 degrees, making basically a triangle shape out of your vegetable. This technique is beautiful for making glazed vegetables, but also for making big products like stews and soups. The last technique that I want to cover is the chiffonade or ribbon cut. This cut is essential for prepping herbs. Start by piling your herbs all together and rolling into a tight pouch, similar to a cigar. And like everything, we're gonna grab our chef's knife and go ahead and dice it into very thin ribbons. This is going to give us a beautiful herb to plate our food. And that's it, folks. That's all the cuts you need to know. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe, click the like button, and leave a comment.